Garrity.
Joined the meeting.
Morning, Ken.
Good morning. Hey, Charles. How are you today? Good.
Alex, anytime you're ready. Are we live?
Ruth Parkins.
Joined the meeting.
Huh?
Jimmy Ticky.
Joined the meeting.
From here. Are we good? Good morning, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger, Chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, September 16th, and the special meeting of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is categorized as a special meeting, as it is being held at a time other than when our regular meeting would have been scheduled.
Joined the meeting.
The protocol for this morning's meeting was previously reviewed by Corporation Counsel, who indicated to me it is compliant with the executive
Joined the meeting.
issued by the governor and fair for those attending in person or watching from a remote location. Just a reminder that all commissioners and staff attending today's meeting in person and others in the auditorium need to wear masks that cover the nose and mouth throughout the meeting, even when speaking. Your cooperation is appreciated. Would everyone present in the auditorium please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite all who are participating remotely to do the same. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll continue with a roll call. When your name is called, please verbally indicate you're present, and I'll begin with those participating remotely. Commissioner Parkins?
Present.
Commissioner Ticky?
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Usel?
Present.
And our commission consultant, Mr. Panico?
Present.
And for the record, Commissioners Wodomski and alternate Commissioner Laskos indicated to me they would not be participating in today's meeting. So Commissioner Usel, you'll be sitting in for Commissioner Wodomski. And I'll continue our roll call with those in the auditorium. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Commissioner Motto? Here. Myself, Commissioner Harger. Mr. Rossetti, our administrator. Mr. O'Neill, our assistant P&Z administrator, ZEO. Mr. Nappy, our downtown projects coordinator. Sarah Vanassos, our recording secretary. Stephanie Charbonneau, our stenographer. And there's a couple of points before continuing with this morning's agenda. This is the Commission's 17th meeting being done via a live streaming process. Commissioners participating in person and remotely will be able to make comments throughout the meeting so that we are not all talking across each other, and our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. Commissioners are asked to please say Madam Chair and then your name. As soon as the chair recognizes you, you're free to speak. Please be aware that you may hear an echo. And I would also ask that anyone else who has dialed in to listen remotely, if you need to make a comment, please say Madam Chair before you begin to speak so that you can be recognized. Commissioners participating remotely are asked to be aware and remember microphones on computers will pick up ambient sounds, which will be heard in the auditorium throughout the PA system, including movement of papers, phones ringing, and conversations if others are in the room. So if at all possible, and you have the ability to do so, please mute the audio on the computer. Today we have continuation of 2 public hearings. Is there anyone in the auditorium that plan to address the commission on either of these 2 applications? If you do intend to, there are sign-up sheets here in the front of the room that you're asked to sign up now. Okay, seeing that there is no one that has indicated that they would be. Do you plan to address the commission?
I find it odd you asked us to sign up before we close the...
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we are going to, I'm going to go through the protocol for public hearings. All comments or questions are to be directed to the chair and the chair only, not to the applicant and/or his associates. No dialogue is permitted between the public and the applicant or any of the applicant's associates. All comments from the public should address specific criteria of the zoning regulations and the merits of the application. All comments from the public should be new information and not a repeat of comments previously presented. Unless a member of the public has new comments to or questions of the chair, members of the public who wish to address the commission are asked to briefly indicate whether or not they are in agreement with the previous speaker and not repeat the same testimony. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be asked to leave. After all members of the public who are in attendance today finish addressing the commission, the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to public comments or questions. The chair will ask if any member of the commission, any members of the commission have any questions for the applicant. After any questions are presented by the commission, the applicant will be given the opportunity to answer those questions. After the applicant and/or his associates have concluded the presentation, they've answered all questions, they've addressed all concerns from the commission and/or public, and if no further information is needed by the commission, the chair will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. If the commission feels further information is needed, the chair will ask for a motion to keep the public hearing open. At a future meeting of the commission, after each public hearing has closed, the commission will discuss the specific application and the chair will poll the commission for a consensus on how to proceed. And a reminder to the commission that once the public hearing has opened and until it is closed, commission members are not permitted to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's presentation, or receive additional information from anyone. So we'll begin with the continuation of the public hearing for application 20-09, Elevate at Shelton Pierre Associates, 1 Pierre Drive, Assessors Map 18, Lot 16, applying for a zone change from IA2 to a planned development district on 8.178 acres for the development of 206 residential units with on-site parking. Mr. Rossetti, were any additional comments received from the public after the continuation of the public hearing for this application on July 8th?
There were no public comments received. We did receive a report from the city engineer in response to comments from Nicholas Clark, the professional engineer for the applicant. I'll forward this to all the commissioners. I thought I forwarded it last night, but apparently did not go through. The letter we received was dated yesterday, the 15th of September.
All right, so you'll read it into the record.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
So the letter from staff, Bjorklund Associates, states, enclosed is a set of revised plans in response to engineering comments as presented in a letter to Alex Rossetti dated July 21st, 2020. Responses to comments are as follows. 1, the previously submitted management report includes a site maintenance plan shown on page 9. The maintenance plan also appears on sheet D1 of the plan set. The underground utility plan, sheet U1, has been revised according to show structure and piping information in chart form. These charts were previously shown on sheet D2. Number 3, structural details of the retaining wall will be provided during the building permit process. Number 4, a post-construction impact map is now provided, shown as display map sheet 2 of 2. Number 5, a note has been added to sheet U1 indicating that all sanitary sewer construction must comply with any conditions set forth by the City of Shelton Water Pollution Control Authority. Number 6, response to this comment is addressed within a separate response letter to Remus Baltus dated August 10, 2020. Number 7, response to this comment is addressed within a separate response letter to Remus Baltus dated August 10, 2020. Number 8, due to the presence of shallow ledge on much of the site, rain gardens will be impractical. Potential locations may include the courtyard areas of both buildings A and B, where the ceiling soils in both cases have been compromised by compaction from an existing building and parking area. In addition, in the case of building A retaining wall is to be constructed down gradient of the courtyard. In the case of building B, the courtyard is surrounded by basement walls. Number 9, hay bale barriers have been added accordingly as shown on sheets E1 and E2. Number 10, the drawing layers showing pipe locations is now active as shown on sheet S1. Number 11, it is understood that if no conditions are set by other agencies, catch basin sumps will be fitted with 4-foot sumps and hooded outlets. Number 12, a detail of the stormwater treatment unit appears on sheet D3. Number 13, the entrance island has been eliminated to provide a single ingress/egress driveway as shown on S1. If you have any other questions or comments, do not hesitate to contact our office. Very truly yours, Nicholas D. Clark, PD. That was a letter that was sent to RIMUS earlier in August, to which RIMUS responded that the maintenance plan must stipulate, quote, yearly inspection report must be sent to the engineer's office. Number 2, items 2 through 13 have been addressed to this office's satisfaction. This office has no additional comments at this time. Very truly yours, RIMUS. So essentially, the city engineer understands the plan and does not have any further concerns at this time.
Okay, thank you. Before I turn it over to the applicant for further comments, I just want to remind everyone of the timeline for this particular application. It was accepted for review on April 23rd of this year. Public hearing opened on June 4th. And at that public hearing, the commission heard the applicant's proposal, the results of a traffic study and a parking study. 2 members of the public who are the owners of the business at 50 Pierre Drive addressed the commission and stated their concerns about the proposal, and the commission voted to continue the public hearing. The next public hearing, the continuation, was on July 8th, and the applicant presented further comments at that time. And at the request of the applicant, the commission voted to continue the public hearing as the city engineer had not yet submitted his report, and Inland Wetlands had not yet acted on the proposal. According to the August 12th agenda of the Inland Wetlands Commission, this application for a permit was on the agenda. Mr. Knapp, do you want to? Mr. Rossetti? Okay. We have a letter from Mr. Cook dated today, and the permit that went to the Inland Wetlands Commission that was just handed out. So can you review this for us, please?
Yes, I can. Dated today, September 16th, 2020, to Jonathan Garrity, Shelton Parrott Associates, in regards to application 20-03 Shelton Parrott Associates, a proposal to demolish about half of the existing industrial building and construct 206 apartments in 2 new buildings involving grading, drainage, and associated activity within regulated area and upland review area. Dear Mr. Garrity, the Inland Wetlands Commission has approved your application to conduct certain regulated activities. The Commission voted this action at its August 12, 2020 special meeting. Please review the conditions of the enclosed permit. All construction or work must conform as authorized. After review and concurrence, please contact this office to establish the necessary construction conferences. The permit becomes valid 15 days after the date of the Commission's approval and is in effect for 5 years. No regulated activities are authorized beyond this time unless specifically approved by the Commission. If you have questions concerning the enclosed permit, please contact this office.
Okay, and then specifically on the first page of the permit for 2003, there was, I think it would be very worthwhile to go over those second and third paragraphs in particular, because people may not understand why Inland Wetlands was referred this, thinking that there are no water courses that had to be considered.
Again, on the same topic, and I quote, "This permit is the result of your application to conduct one or more regulated activities within or affecting inland wetlands and or water courses in the city of Shelton. The Inland Wetlands Commission has considered your application with due regard for the criteria enumerated in section 10.2 A through F of the Shelton Inland Wetlands and Water Courses Regulation and other pertinent factors. It has found that the proposed work, as specified in condition herein, conforms to the intent and provisions of said regulations. The authorized activity consists of the demolition of existing parking area and drainage, and the construction of a portion of an apartment building with associated infrastructure, retaining walls, stormwater detention / treatment systems, drainage, utilities, grading, and landscaping. Construction of a preformed scarable and concrete wall end within .003 acres of intermittent water course within .91 acres of upland review area. The following plans detail the proposed activity. He goes through the corresponding plans, and he lists a number of conditions as to why this permit is being issued and conditions under that permit.
Yeah, 16 of them.
Correct, and there are 16 conditions and comments from the Wetlands Commission, but at the end, they do have approval from their commission.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so, does the applicant have any further information, comments?
A couple things, Chairman, just to sum up, it's my understanding the commission.
Identify yourself for the record, please.
I apologize. Raymond Rizzio, I'm on 10 South Circle Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm Bruce Rizzio, I represent One Fair Drive LLC and Elevate Mitchell. My understanding the commission had a site walk, or viewed the site in the last week or two, and
Staff, arranged and, communicated to the, commission that, if anyone was interested in going up there, it would be, the Wednesday that we did not have a commission meeting, so it was 2 weeks ago. And, it was myself, Commissioner Motto, and Commissioner Kelly. No, you weren't there. So it was myself, Commissioner Motto, Mr. Rossetti, and Mr. Matthews from staff.
is there any
Mr. O'Neill.
questions the commissioners had, I'd be happy to, that resulted from the site walk, or questions about the project, our engineers here, as you know, we've received basically got all the approvals from the engineering, we have our wetlands approval, and, I think if you viewed the site, you can see how this works topographically and why it works topographically. Why that lower edge has never really been used, or not really had, parking or supporting its own top. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have as it relates to their walking of the site.
Is that, computer set up so that you could move the mouse?
Yes.
Okay, so on this particular site plan,
Yes.
right in the middle, below where the cursor is, go ahead over to the right, that's where the new building is proposed. Okay? All right, now, one of them, yeah. And then to the right, keep going, that's the parking, one of the parking areas. Now, that building, right there, that's his existing building, yeah, it was hard to see.
Correct.
But that's the furthest portion that would stay, but everything else before that would be demolished.
Correct.
Okay, because there isn't really, I can't tell, there really isn't like a little dotted line or something that shows the existing building where it is in relation to what was proposed. Do you have that on another one? Sure. Oh, you need the back rear. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's great, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the grayed out area on the right is where the,
That gray
existing
area
could-
right
yeah.
there is the existing building that's gonna be demolished.
right, and proposed to be demolished. And there's the cul-de-sac, the drive around.
Proposed to be demolished. I apologize.
Okay, and then down on the left side is, the grayed area is the existing parking,
Right.
and with the building superimposed over that. One of the concerns I have is the amount of traffic that would have to egress the area, and the only means of doing that is going down Parrot Drive or going up Parrot Drive and cutting through the Cinto property. Has the property owner, approached the, property owner to the rear of the building for some kind of easement to create an other,
Roadway out, what is that?
yeah, there's a building there, office building,
I think there's wetlands all between.
because when we went up there, it was interesting that someone has put pavers down, and there is a walkway through the brush from the parking lot here to the parking lot of that.
Yeah.
And the brush, so
I
I'm,
think that is all wetlands. That's why we ended up having to go to wetlands, not that the wetlands is that we're impacting the wetlands on our site. It's all that off-site wetlands that we even have to deal with. Bjorklund, who's our engineer, will basically say, I don't think it's pretty much impossible to put a road through back there. You know, there's buildings.
Sir, identify yourself for the record.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Dave Bjorklund, staff Bjorklund Associates, we have offices in Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
With the engineers on the project. The buildings that you can see behind are the buildings, a couple of office buildings on progress.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see right here, there is a water course that comes in from progress.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a gully type water course that runs behind the building that brings the drainage down.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we didn't consider going out into that,
Mm-hmm.
to the west. And also, Dave Sullivan, who is, I believe, on this call, can address some of your specific traffic issues. The beauty about this site is it has a very long queue out. In other words, if you're going out to Bridgeport Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
you would make a right. We are the first and only driveway down a considerable lane before you get on Bridgeport Avenue. So I think, I don't see that as being a big impact. And on top of that, there is not much traffic on Parrot Drive coming out. One of the things, I think that's one of the things that's attractive about it. We don't feel, Dave, maybe you can, Dave Sullivan can step, can you, here. Dave,
Yeah.
are you on?
I am on, right. So we did look at the operations on Parrot Drive, and the operations with the new signal are fine. There's plenty of queuing distance. There's levels of service are all C or better, and that includes the addition of the Fountain Square traffic.
Have you had any, conversations with Mr. Stinto as to any potential impacts for people to come out of the driveway, take a left, go up here, head towards the Renaissance?
I talked to Mr. Casano, who's president of Mr. Cinto early on, in this, before we decided to go forward, to make sure they had, and they expressed no objection to the project.
Okay, it would be, I think, appropriate to ask for something like that in writing, so that we could have it as part of the documentation. Okay? So, anything else before I turn over to for questions for the commissioners?
No, and then I assume I can sum up at the end, or
Okay.
rebut whatever you need.
All right. So, Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Morano, I'll start with you. Do either of you have any?
I have one question.
Okay, get your.
On the traffic flow, was the new Fountain Square taken into consideration?
Yes, I think he just said Fountain Square. David, if you could restate for the record that the Fountain Square, anticipated traffic from Fountain Square was taken into consideration in your report.
Yeah, yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan, can you expand on that? A little bit more detail on what kind of traffic, Fountain Square may generate, and just a little bit.
And I'm not sure if I have all those details handy. If you bear with me, I'll see if I could find them. But again, we did the traffic study for Fountain Square, and we've done the follow-up studies as well for the various change of uses, including Goddard School. So we did certainly put in there the very latest of the Fountain Square traffic. Again, I don't have the actual numbers because they're baked into the background traffic volume. Let me see if I could. If you want to move on, I'll see if since I am at my home office, I could pull up the Fountain Square information and get you the specific numbers.
Okay, go ahead. In the meantime, Commissioner Kelly, anything else? Okay, Commissioner Morrow?
Yeah, I think this was addressed earlier meeting, and I forgot. The building that's quite large, looks pretty new, looks nice. Just wondered, what had been there, and what had you done marketing that, or is?
market for, there's a small manufacturing company there, I believe, and they've been there, that space has been empty for a couple of years now, that it's been actively marketed. Mr. Garrity, who is a active commercial investor both in Shelton and in Trumbull, has been trying to market the property. It doesn't really lend itself as a good distribution site. Manufacturing is certainly, as you know, Lee has kind of fled Connecticut, and thought that this mixed use proposal was probably the best to keep the site, still keep the commercial use on the site. What's really become attractive to, on the commercial and industrial development is the distribution centers. And because of the topography of this site and the topography of that section of the building, it doesn't lend itself very well to any type of large distribution tenants that would need, loading docks for big trucks and things like that. As you can see, it's very narrow, and there's not the ability to really store and correct me if I'm wrong, that has been one of the issues with releasing that property. They have not had much luck. As you can see, COVID hit, so it's hard to say really what, who's out there and what's not out there. One thing that is for sure is that Connecticut has had a resurgence of people who want to live here.
The draw.
What's that?
I said, we want to pull up the drawbridge.
Well, I think, here's the issue, right? One of the issues I think what you tag when you say about pulling up the drawbridge, you guys have, this commission and this town has done a tremendous job of developing their commercial, corporate, and retail. And you have a very significant investment along Fort Avenue in a retail spot. And one of the important things that drives retail is people. And that's certainly been heightened by COVID. And for these restaurants to succeed in the future, or these stores to succeed in the future, people accessing them, servicing squares get opened up, and people, they're going to want to have a demographic. Beauty of this site, demographic that can walk to Town Square, demographic that can service restaurants by walking. We've agreed as a condition of approval to install sidewalks the length of the property, so that now, as the property owner directly above us has stated, that people walk down the center of Parrot Drive coming out of all the corporate Cinto properties, that they walk down the center of the road. There's no sidewalks. We will now, since we take up the bulk of that street, there will be a sidewalk that will be able to walk entirely, crosswalk that will take them to a crosswalk that will allow them to enter Fountain Square. So, kind of the link. This is the bookend to the Cinto apartments up on Parrot Drive. So we're not introducing residential to Parrot Drive. We're not looking to take away commercial sites. But we believe, like your future land use plan states, that these mixed-use projects in the right location are going to be great generators and great providers and customers to all these corporate and retail tenants that you have. So we think this is the perfect bookend for Parrot Drive. And what it does is it will increase the safety for all those walkers that come down to Parrot Drive. And basically have 200 units that will be able to support those restaurants, go to the Five Guys, go to
Ruby Tuesdays
Ruby
closed.
Tuesdays up,
Closed.
And all those restaurants need people. And to be able to walk that is, we just think is really when you check off. And that's one of the things, we're not an island. I know some of the concerns of other projects you've had is that these things were kind of an island. This would be an integral participant to the commercial and supporting the commercial development that you've so successfully developed along Bridgeport Avenue, without having to create any traffic issues, because there's a light there. There's the ability to walk to these services. Walkability is what separates. It's what's driving your downtown now, and this is with the ability to help drive also Bridgeport Avenue. we believe Bridgeport Avenue, the clientele is different customers. And, there's great demand for people living in town. Great town, people want to live here. The question is smart development. We think this is smart because it doesn't impact any neighbors. It provides walkability. It doesn't put any students in your schools. It will increase your tax to the property probably 5 times of what it is right now. And, it's going to be very important to support those businesses, definitely. I guess that's a long way of answering your question, I hope.
Yeah, that's helpful, thanks.
Okay, Ray, I have those numbers if, you're
Okay,
interested.
Mr. Sullivan, just hang on a minute, okay? Commissioner Kelly, go ahead.
What goes on in the existing building?
Say that again, sir.
I got it, huh?
The building that's coming down,
Yeah,
it's empty.
no, not the building that's coming down, the building that's being left.
There's some offices, there's some, warehouse space.
And it seems a lot taller than the other.
Yes, and that's one of the other things. It has the ability for better distribution also.
It's
So we
just,
no intention of touching that building.
no, it just boggles my mind that he can't rent out the rest of the building when the gentleman up the hill, he can't keep the tenants away.
We can't keep the tenants away.
Mr. Sinto.
I think COVID's provided, I don't know, COVID is providing a lot of challenges to a
Yeah,
lot of
but COVID
everybody
wasn't-
commercial. I will tell you, the office space is shrinking. Tenants are moving. Unilever is moving. There are.
Unilever was moving a long time ago.
Long-term existing leases that are in place, but that if you look at the parking lots, and you look at the downsize, now keep in mind, you have big companies that have existing leases, they have to honor them. I can tell you, I do a ton of commercial leasing, I do a ton of office leasing, and the office market is very quiet. What you see is consolidation, see is people taking half the space for less money because they find they can now have half their staff work from home. It is a different world. And there is a new norm coming. I do not think that the office is a very, very difficult, a difficult marketplace right now. So there's not, although buildings may not have the vacancy, there is a tremendous amount of need. People are looking to sublease space because they feel they have too much space, but they have existing leases they're honoring. You read all the reports, I can see it in our things. I can't tell you the last time we signed a new office lease, except for, medical space, and some educational space.
Anything else, Commissioner Kelly? Okay. Let me ask Mr. Sullivan to, go ahead and present us information, then I'll ask commissioners who are participating remotely to, offer any comments they'd like to. Go ahead, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, the Fountain Square traffic numbers for the morning peak hour, there's a total of 503 entering and exiting from both of the driveways. The afternoon peak hour is 534, and the Saturday peak hour, which was not analyzed here, would have been 617.
Okay, so those are vehicles going up and down Parrott Drive only?
Those are vehicles coming in and out of Fountain Square. Some of them are going directly into the Bridgeport Avenue driveway, and some of them are coming on Parrott Drive.
Okay, and what was that Saturday figure again?
617.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so are there any commissioners that have participating remotely that have any comments they'd like to share at this time? Commissioner Parkins?
I do have some concerns. As someone who's worked in the corporate towers for the past 24 years, I'm very familiar with people's driving habits in terms of finding the quickest route to get somewhere. I do know for a fact that many people that work in the corporate towers, albeit not at this time because the big major employers are still having people work from home, they travel Parrott Drive to avoid going down Commerce and being stuck at that light. So I think having done these traffic counts during a period of COVID may have altered that a little bit from reality. I'm also of the belief that manufacturing will return. It has to. We have seen what the results of not having manufacturing in the United States has done during the periods of COVID. So, you know, I've always talked that I believe things are cyclical, and, you know, manufacturing has got to come back. Hopefully the right administration will be in office to make that happen. You know, it's a lot of reasons why people move to Shelton, residents, and it's a lot of reasons, Shelton is has a lot of reasons why industrial comes to Shelton as well. So I'm concerned with taking a site that is already zoned, developed, and available, taking it away from the I-82 zone. Naturally, it's much more lucrative and attractive for apartments to be put there. I could certainly see the economic value in that. I don't deny that. But again, I'm just concerned about changing an IA already developed site into that. The other, regarding the shared parking, if this complex were to go through, it's got shared parking with the remaining industrial building that will be there. So I believe that's going to limit the potential for what could go in that use in terms of industrial, if the current tenant moves out or whoever's in there now. With the shared parking, if it becomes a busy industrial area, it may limit what can go in there in terms of how many people, headcounts, and employees could work there. So those are some of my concerns right now. Again, knowing that Fountain Square is delayed in its opening dates, I'm sure. That's going to be a very, very busy shopping center. There's no doubt about it. The restaurants and ice cream shops, et cetera, that are planning on to go in there have a lot of people in Shelton very excited. And I just think, especially with the drive-throughs, I just think it's going to be a very busy site that is unknown at this point in terms of traffic count. So, 600 Saturday count, depending on the restaurants in there, I think it could be more coming in and out. So those are my concerns.
Thank you, Commissioner Parkins.
Can we just address those concerns real quickly, because,
Let me get Commissioner Ticky and then hold that thought, okay? All right, so Commissioner Ticky, you're participating remotely. Is there anything you want to share?
Sure. I would just add that I am generally concerned about this development. I think I've mentioned this in the past, but light industrial is not dead, and other towns, Stratford, Trumbull, North Haven, they've innovated, and they've recognized that there is a growing need for distribution and for light industrial. This is something we used to do a lot of, and I'm reminded of many commissioners who have served on this commission before us and with us who cautioned against this level of high-density residential on our main corridors, like Bridgeport Ave. So I think that there is a need for light industrial. I think under COVID we have seen, no doubt, the need to be in an office decline, but we have seen a rise in the need for light industrial space, for distribution centers, and I think that has only accelerated what was going to be true in those being assets to a town. And so I don't like to see that we are closing up our light industrial and acting on zone changes for a short-term sugar high of more apartments. I do have a concern about traffic. I read the report, but I still have a concern about what the reality will be about traffic. And it was just mentioned by another commissioner about the other developments that have yet to be brought to fruition that I think will add to more cars in this area. So I'm looking over the materials, but those are some of my initial concerns and thoughts.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Usal, do you have any comments, questions, or concerns?
Yes, I am concerned about this project, and mainly the traffic. And another commissioner mentioned that, it could be used as a cut-through, and especially with Fountain Square, it might exacerbate existing traffic conditions on Bridgeport Avenue and surrounding streets. So I do think there will be an increased demand for light industrial, and I do have concerns, so that's what my comments are.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Usal. All right, so Attorney Rizzo, would you like to
Well, let's start with the facts. First of all, Mr. Sullivan, I believe your report was dated March 20th. I'm assuming all of your calculations, all of your counts were taken before the impact of COVID, here in the state of Connecticut. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Approximately when those accounts were taken? They were taken probably January, no later than February?
They could have been before then. Let me check the, report dates. Some of the counts, some of the base data was taken as part of the Fountain Square project, which was, a couple of years ago. So and they were supplemented in 2019. So the original, they were all pre-COVID, and the most current date was 2019.
That was the beginning of 2019?
No,
Or-
the end. I
Okay.
believe they were fall of 2019 for the actual counts.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rizzo?
Yeah, so the traffic reports are accurate. The traffic reports are all pre-COVID. Traffic reports represent the traffic that this commission has known, has experienced, and is not any deflated, for certainly conditions that are going on currently. So I just want to make that clear, that this, not to discount Mr. Sullivan's report, because it is accurate. It's pre-COVID, and he took into account all the people that do cut through on Parrot Drive, because the numbers would David, is that correct for the record? Of people were cutting through from leaving Corporate Drive, coming down Parrot Drive, those are all included in the numbers. I mean, you don't miss those cars because they're coming in that direction. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I just want to make it clear to the traffic, it takes into account all the concerns the first commissioner had mentioned with regard to pre-COVID, people cutting through, people using Parrot Drive coming from the corporate tower.
Can I just ask, Mr. Sullivan, that also takes into account anyone who is employed in the businesses that are on Parrot Drive and going up through the Cinto property past his parking garages and coming out on, I believe is it Research Drive? Corporate Drive, and, yeah, Commerce is the other one. Yep. So, does that take into account, did you count cars that would have been exiting those businesses and people coming down Bridgeport Avenue, going up Parrot Drive and not wanting to go all the way down to the traffic light at the intersection of Old Stratford Road and Bridgeport Avenue and not having to go up Commerce Drive that way?
And we counted anybody that was currently taking whatever travel pattern they currently take. So if a motorist currently traveling on Bridgeport Avenue decides to go up Parrot Drive and cut through the office complexes to get to Commerce or somewhere else to the north, they were counted. Anybody that is coming out of the office complexes or anywhere in that area that's coming down Parrot Drive to Bridgeport Avenue, those people were counted. So our base counts are pretty much anybody that's driving in that area, no matter what their travel patterns are today.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. Mr. Rizzo?
Yeah, the other issues I'd like to address are the questions with regard to eliminating light industrial. We're keeping 47,000 square feet on site. We have trouble leasing property because of its topographic conditions. We believe it's underutilized. We think this project, and I think what the commission has to look at, and you're talking about, certainly Shelton will never be accused of having not enough balance or not enough office and not enough light industrial property. There is certainly plenty of industrial space that's available, certainly plenty of industrial space that will be available. Your future land use plan talks also about economic drivers. In this instance, where the taxes on this property are $136,000 in its current state, should the the apartments be built, and the apartments, I believe, are taxed typically somewhere between, talking with my client, between $2,000 and $2,500 an apartment. Talking about taking a $130,000 tax bill, cut it in half, say to 70, because of the loss of the commercial space, but then you would add close between $400,000 and $500,000 in real estate taxes, let alone the personal property taxes from vehicles, all the vehicles that currently park on the site, not unless people live in Shelton. Shelton's not collecting any of those tax dollars. So this is a huge economic driver for the town also. And I think if you read your mixed use, and I brought copies, but I'm going to bring you to section 6 of your future land use plan. Your future land use plan describes this project. And it talks about areas that are substantially vacant or underutilized, served by or can be provided with adequate roads, which have or can be provided with necessary public utilities and services. We have those. Such areas are intended to be development with one or an appropriate combination of a variety of economic development uses that will result in a positive economic impact on the taxable grand list and impose minimal burden on the city services and municipal infrastructure. We've shown, your full reports show that these 1 and 2 bedroom units, which we're willing to limit us to, do not pose any impact on your municipal services. Their school children are minimal, certainly as relates to the taxes generated. Such uses can range from multifamily residential and senior citizen services with facilities to restricted commercial light industrial. For sure, high-quality, compatible development, all uses should be authorized only by the application of a plan development district, which is exactly what we believe this project fits your plans, your future land use plan. We've come before you with a PDD. We've come through with 206 units that are going to be only 1 and 2 bedroom units. We come through with probably one of the let's call it not your downtown, but your more of your corridor that has probably the highest walkability scale of any project that's in town. You'll be able to walk to Fountain Square. You'll be able to walk down to a small shopping center. You'll be able to walk to work if you live in the corporate towers. You'll be able to walk to the El Palio. You'll be able to walk, and we're going to be providing the sidewalks that will help enable that connection, the connectivity for people who want to walk between our project or people who want to walk from Corporate Drive down to the site on Fountain Square, Bridgeport Avenue, or Walking Road. And then you talk about tax generation where you have a 4- and 5-fold, so you're in exchange of keeping a, let's say, what I consider a building that's handicapped by its topography, that results in taxes that are not certainly supportive of what the land could provide. So you basically, by us not being able to eliminate this small industrial portion of industrial building, the city is providing the opportunity to collect $400,000 a year for their tax base without any constraints on the municipal structure. There's no negative impact on neighbors. There's nobody to the rear that we impact. There's nobody on either side that we impact. All we're doing is providing that perfect bookend for Paris Drive, which already has a large residential component on it. This is what classic mixed use is. You have a commercial use with a residential use. You have walkability to services. You have walkability to doctor's office. You have walkability to restaurants. You have walkability to Fountain Square if there is one. And most importantly, but I hope this commission's not missing it, but I think what's really going to be important for your retail to succeed, you are going to need people. You are going to need people to attend these restaurants. You're going to need people who go to these restaurants. You're going to need people who go to these small stores. You're going to need people who go to the ice cream shops. Because one thing that we've learned from the last few months, there will be a new norm coming out of this. And I think this is a property that will help support those small businesses, those large businesses, and provide people in Shelton a place to downsize, a place who want to be here, maybe just they want to be snowbirds, and still provide a huge economic impetus to your tax base. I find it hard when you look and you realize that Mr. Sullivan's reports, Mr. Sullivan's a these were all done in consideration of the traffic, as was the norm, nothing hampered by, any kind of virus. And when you look at that, and you look at that, the piece of a vacant parking lot in a hole, and you can put this beautiful neighborhood there that provides a huge tax benefit to the town, I find it very difficult to find out that this property is so consistent with your future your land use plan. And hopefully you folks will see it for what we do and respectfully request that you grant this application. I don't think there's any downside to this application. I only see upside, and I hope you'll do the same. I'd be happy to answer any of those questions.
Okay, before I open it up to anyone in the auditorium that is, wants to address the public, is there any further comments, questions, or concerns from any of the commissioners here in the auditorium? Okay, are there any comments, questions, or concerns from anybody, any of the commissioners participating remotely? Okay, hearing none, is there, any members of the public who wish to address the commission on this application? Thank you. All right, we have one, Jan Gerard. Oh, you're not? Okay. Okay, Ms. Gerard has, decided not to, and Mr. Rizzo, you had signed up, but you've already done it as part of the application. Sure, go right ahead.
It's important, and I think that last statement definitely, I mean, I've watched your other hearings with regard to some of these projects. I've watched the neighbors come out. I've watched the public's participation in this issue. This project has, we've been here, I think this is the third time. And you've addressed the one neighbor's concern with regard to the walkability and the people walking along Parrot Drive. But other than that, we've heard no mention from anyone in the public of any opposition to this project. I think this project is, and it's because it's perfectly situated. And I think you would feel the outrage. You've felt it before. You've had the people lining up at your hearings. You've had your Zoom calls jammed. It hasn't happened here. It's not that people don't know about it. It's the perfect spot. So given that consideration, I would hope this commission realizes this is something that will have no negative impact on your town. We think it's only going to be a very successful project that will help support all these businesses that you've helped establish. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Rizzo, I just want to clarify, is there anybody else that, besides Mr. Sullivan, that was participating remotely?
Chairwoman, I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Ticky.
Thank you. I do realize that the public is able to email in or write in, but I just want to recognize, hearing those comments, that having a public meeting at 10 a.m. doesn't exactly lend itself to inviting the public to come and to speak, as some people do still work in jobs, and this is not the most convenient time for them. So I just wanted that to be on the record, that many people do still work, and they're not able to participate in these meetings.
Okay, thank you for those comments. All right, okay, Commissioner Amato wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Could you have the possibility of just adding one apartment building on that lower level, industrial building intact for the time being?
Like Dave, Jordan, you talked, I think the issue really becomes getting working in the parking and working structures in, because I think by eliminating the other buildings has the ability to eliminate the building with the parking structure underneath.
Start from the,
Dave Bjorklund, the engineer for the application. Right, we have unstructured parking under the buildings, which is the only way that we can make it work.
The top building, though, not the lower level building, parking is underneath that?
Yes. Yeah, we could, like, if we left the industrial building, I didn't look at it specifically, but I don't know where we would have the parking for that industrial building. If they were gonna occupy that building, for warehouse, we would probably have it, but if we're gonna occupy it, one person from 500 square feet, we wouldn't have the parking.
On that upper level?
Yes. Shimano, it did remind me of one thing that you had brought up at the last hearing, and that
the mic.
Make it clear that we would agree with as a condition of approval, that there was some concern that you wanted to safeguard that these, because the rental spaces, obviously having, covered parking, that there would not be a separate charge for that, and that they could not, that none of the spaces could be leased to anyone off site. We would agree to that as a condition of approval. So I just wanted to remind the commission in case that comes up.
And to piggyback on to Commissioner Amato's comment about leaving the existing building as is, it was the constraints of the parking that did not permit a design to be submitted that would have been putting on a couple more floors on that building, because you needed to modify that building so that you have parking on that
You
location.
need to modify the building to service, you need to get rid of that building so that you can create that parking strip between the buildings, so which now gives the existing commercial building actually better parking, because now you can park around the remaining building.
Mhm.
And you have adequate, traffic lanes, which was also a concern. So the hard part was the part of our building had the lower ceilings and the least functional, prevented the more functional cars in the building from really having access completely around. So,
Okay.
we honestly felt that this was the best way to split this up and still keep the mixed use on the site.
All right, and Commissioner Kelly?
Yeah, we're talking about leaving the entire existing building and just putting, say, building A or B, whatever it is. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I had asked, had there been any consideration to leaving the building, existing building, and just adding on a couple more floors, and that doesn't seem to be
Well,
way they can do it.
They're taking down the existing building, they
to
can't.
provide parking.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else from the applicant? Anything else from any commissioners? Okay, if there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, is there a
I
motion?
have a question, I looked at my notes and I couldn't find it. Was there any consideration for affordable housing? I don't remember your response. The, 10%. 10% is required, yeah, we put that in our PDD.
Yep, that's definitely there. All right, so if there aren't any other comments, questions, or concerns from the commissioners, and no other further information from the applicant, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close.
Commissioner Kelly has made a motion to close the public hearing on application 20-09. Is there a second? Second for Commissioner Amato. So on a roll call on the motion to close the public hearing, from Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Amato. Commissioner Ticky?
Aye.
Commissioner Yuso?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Amato?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so we will have a discussion about this particular application at an upcoming meeting, and at that time, the chair will ask the commission for consent on how to proceed. So we will,
Just 2 minutes.
yeah. All right, the commission's gonna have like a 5-minute recess to, until we continue with our agenda.
Is that better, or do you want? Can go a little darker.
Why would you take down a building? I know why.
Elaine left, and give them a chance to set up. Who's up behind the monitor?
Oh, might as well take a recess.
Yeah.
Can I raise it?
Don't take too long. I'll give you a lap pass.
Do I need a pass?
Yeah. Who's sitting down there? Oh, Manny. I couldn't tell who was there, because the monitor is in there.
I know.
Number 20.
Picture of me on the back of the monitor.
Yeah, exactly. 20-12, okay. So you're all set to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
We had our traffic engineer went and count things and look at the queue length and all.
Well, you present that to, during the open.
Just everything you asked for, that's all.
Okay. You were here before for
Yeah.
this application?
Yeah.
Sometimes they all like run through.
Yeah, they run together, yeah. Yeah. There's a big push. Everybody wants to be here.
I was talking to someone this morning, and I said, have you noticed which, any increase in demand for real estate? I said, oh, God. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know people that have sold their houses for $60,000 above asking.
I believe it.
Yeah.
There are houses that I see when I check real estate listings, that I think to myself, sale pending on this? Whereas, like 2 years ago, it'd be like, please, take my house.
Yeah, no, everything is going like hotcakes right now. People, I know like young couples that they're friends with my wife and I, and they're just trying to buy a house, and as soon as they go to look at it and they go to see another one, and they say, oh, come back to that one,
No,
it's gone.
it's gone. What's mortgage rates these days?
They're like, 3.5.
My nephew had posted something how he was refinancing and it was 2.6,
Yeah.
and I went, what?
Yeah.
Because I was ready to say, go call him and find out where that's from.
Yeah.
So I think we got a,
2.6 is 15-year, I think.
okay.
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt? But we literally just financed, we had that closing
Yeah.
a week ago,
Yep.
and we went from a 4 and 7/8 to a 2 and 1.
Wow, where'd you get it
20-year
through?
mortgage, Newtown
20.
Savings Bank.
Oh, Newtown.
And we took off 4 years off of our
Yep.
current mortgage, previous mortgage, and then went down.
Yep.
So we decreased, we
Your monthly
actually-
mortgage.
Yeah, so, and literally just by $20, but like, it would just say 4 years, and then, and then
Yeah,
to
4 years,
transfer
and then the
2,
amount of
2
interest over
points.
the life of the loan, right?
Yeah.
That's the big number.
And then to go to 2 from, and 4 was a fine rate anyway, we were happy with 4.
When we
Okay, but we'll say 2.
bought our first house in 1978, mortgage was 9. At the time, my husband worked for City Savings. As an employee, he got a % off, so it was
Right.
8. And I remember sitting in the Jeep, and our first house was down here behind Trudy Funeral Home. It was listed for $49,500 or something. He almost had a stroke. Let me tell you, we were sitting in real estate. I was the second one to see the house. He was working, and I was teaching until 9.
Yeah.
So I said, I got an appointment at 4 o'clock. So to go and look at this house. So I had to wait on the sidewalk with the real estate agent because somebody else was looking. And as soon as I walked in the house, he said, oh, this is good. So I called him and I said, we're making an offer on this. And he was like, oh, and I said, no, we got to do this. So we went down to the real estate agent. It was down on River Road, down where the car wash is. And I thought I was going to have to do CPR on him. He was like hyperventilating. We offered full price.
Yeah.
The other older couple that came in half an hour before us, they wanted just to do like 49. So of course, it was a little lady who had gotten an opportunity to move into, she's a widow, to go into like Sensible Heights or Wiki or somewhere, and she needed to move. So we got the house built. I remember sitting in the teacher's room at Shelton High in the business department, and the department chair was a guy named Fred Sanford, and he was like, I'm never paying over $35,000 for a house. Yeah, Fred. And then that interest rates went up to like 17%.
Yeah.
At one point, oh my God. So, this interest rate is.
And then to switch, we have oil for our heating.
Elaine is back.
Yeah,
Charlie.
we're ready.
Oil
Okay.
now my husband, we never do, and we use Standard Oil for a contract, but he locked in at 209. He's like,
Why not? Yeah. All right, everybody ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna resume, today's meeting, and our next, agenda item is the continuation of application 20-12, Good Guys Development LLC at Petromont Lane, Assessors Map 66, Lot 24, for a planned development district in an R3 zone on 2.1 acres for a 56-unit apartment building with 10% affordable housing units and on-site parking, initial development plans by Rose Tizo and Company, architects and engineers, dated May 1, 2020. This particular application was accepted for review on June 10th of this year. Public hearing for the application opened on July 29th. And at that public hearing, the applicant made its presentation. 5 members of the public spoke, and commission members had the opportunity to ask questions during and after the applicant's presentation. And the applicant had the opportunity to answer those questions at that time or to wait until today. Commission voted to continue the public hearing, and on August 26th, that continuation opened, and the applicant presented a proposal it had discussed with the city's traffic authority to change Petromont Lane to a one-way street towards Corm Avenue. The attorney representing Santos Plaza, Attorney Thomas, Santos Plaza is the budding property owner at 495 River Road, indicated his client disagreed with this proposal. There was another business in the area. The people across the street from the driveway, the proposed driveway, who did speak in favor of a one-way. And at that time, the commission voted to continue the public hearing. Mr. Rossetti, any additional comments received from the public after the continuation on August 26th?
We have not received any additional comments from the public. We have received a letter from the city engineer. Would you like me to read that?
Yes, go ahead.
The letter is dated September 15th. It was forwarded to the applicant, and they offer the following comments. This office has reviewed the above referenced plans and offers the following comments. 1, a full-length center line profile of Petromont Lane, including pavement edges, pavement width, utilities, and sight lines should be included. 2, plan and profile of Petromont Lane with utilities, proposed and existing, not provided. 3, driveways exceed maximum allowable width at Petromont Lane. 4, stormwater retention galleys must be sized for initial 2 inches of rainfall. 5, sewer water management plan must indicate property owner is responsible to have stormwater system inspected, cleaned, and maintained annually. Report indicating inspection and completed must be sent to city engineer's office. 6, all catch basins are required to have 4-foot sumps. 7, to handle the anticipated traffic increase, Petromont Lane should be widened to 26 feet. 8, property corners should have iron pins installed. 9, retaining wall details are missing. 10, driveway grades are missing. 11, pavement details are missing. This office recommended addressing these concerns prior to approval. Very few yours.
Okay, thank you. Any other new information to share? There was a letter dated September 4th from RWH Enterprise that was put on the city's website.
That's online already, yeah.
Yep, and this has to do with intersection traffic and queue analysis. So if commissioners have not already downloaded that particular document, I ask you to please do so. It does have a diagram that shows directions and vehicle counts. Okay, and so does the applicant have information for us?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Attorney Bellis?
Yes, for the record, the applicant Good Guys Development. Let me, as far as the engineer's report, those are standard items that we always put on the drawings. And Manny Silva's here to address any of your comments, but those are standard, and we got no problem doing that. The only one that I'll talk about now is think I got good news. And the good news is that, we had our traffic engineer, that's the report that you're referring to, as, exhibit number 29. He went out, to the site in the afternoon, because that was the most, that was the peak hour for the traffic. And just so you may recall, Mr. Hewlett had determined that, in the 1 hour of peak, during weekdays, we're talking about 25 trips. That was the amount of additional traffic that would be generated in an afternoon weekday during that 1 hour.
What's that 1 hour time frame? 4 to 5, 5 to 6? Okay, 4 to 6.
Yeah. In the morning was 20, so he picked the one that was a little higher, which is afternoon. So he went up to Coram Road, and, he did, what he basically did was count the cars. And, we were concerned, or staff was concerned about whether if you were going up Petromont, and you came to Coram Road, would there be any queuing of cars on Coram Road, at the stop sign? And the answer is, 95% of the time, the answer is no. There are no cars there for you if you were waiting at the end of, Petromont, you wouldn't see a car on Coram Road. So there was no queuing issues. Now, he realizes this is still COVID times, that's such a term, so we make him bump up the estimates by 60%. And still, if he put those numbers in as well, there would be no problem with queuing or turning on Coram Road, even with the increase. And that, the 60% figure came from old data prior to COVID.
So you're saying whatever the actual vehicle count is,
I agree, yeah. And just to make sure there wouldn't be a problem. And the answer is it's not, which is good. And the technical parts, I get Manny go over, but that was the big question. So, let me go back to what the issue was for the commission, and then I think I can help you frame it. So we have there's two options. Number one, I believe that there's an existing condition, that is, it's not the best, I don't know what the word is, but it's people traveling south on Constitution Boulevard, this is currently, and then making a quick left on Coram and a quick right on Petromont. That's what they're doing now. And what we're seeing is that they don't really slow down, it's all like one move. It's not a stop, left, and a right. It's I'll call it a zigzag? Yeah, it's like a diagonal. So that's an existing problem. That has nothing to do with us. But when we spoke to the gentleman who owns the Sorges, he said, Steve, this has been going on for a long time, and he suggested that we make it the one way. He was the one who put the first proposal. We then took it to the traffic division of Shelton, and I butchered this man's name, Sergeant Mark Singlinger, and he wrote a report that you should have in your packet. I marked it as Exhibit 28. After our last meeting. And he agrees that the one-way going towards Coram would eliminate this problem of people coming down Constitution Boulevard and cutting into Petromont. When we talked to the Santos people, they said, Steve, we don't really care about the one-way as long as you allow us to come out of our driveway and go either way. So here's now. Those are all the facts. So here's the two proposals. One is that we make Petromont one way past Santos' building towards Coram. And in doing that, that would eliminate the people making that zigzag turn from Constitution Boulevard onto Petromont. The road clearly is only 25 cars during peak hours, could handle the additional traffic from the apartment building, because it's only 25 cars in an hour at peak hours, so that wouldn't be a problem. Option B is you leave it as a two-way street, as it currently is, and that we widen it to 26 feet, as the engineer says you should do if you're going to make it a two-way, and then put a stripe, I think he wanted a stripe, center line stripe, which is fine. not against that. I just want to make that clear. I'm not telling the board, that you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. What I was trying to do was, solve, an existing problem by making it one way. So that could be option A. Or if you do, want to keep it a two-way road, they still will be doing the zigzag maneuver, but we can widen, Petramont so that it's a little safer going in each direction if it were a two-way. So we can do either or. Now, they've already widened the road, they being Santos from, I want to call that Route 110, past their driveway. Then comes our property. So we can widen it if that's what the commission wanted. And then our property ends, but we can continue to widen it, up through at least the right of way, up to Quorum Road, to the Quorum Road intersection. I mean, it's possible to do that. So, I don't want to leave you with, well, we're pushing this, we're pushing that. Whatever the commission feels, would be best suited for this area, we're willing to do. I have a personal opinion that the one-way would be better. I think the local police officer who reviewed this has the same opinion, and I think the Sorges, neighbor of ours who's been there for a very long time also felt the same opinion, that the one-way is the better option, because it then will stop cars from doing what they're doing now. And so what will the cars do on Constitution Boulevard if we do make it a one-way? Well, it's pretty straightforward. They just continue on Constitution Boulevard, and you'll see it there. It's actually Quorum Road. It changes names there. And you come to the light on the bottom of Quorum and Route 110, and you turn left or right. So it's probably safer, in my opinion, to turn onto River Road at the traffic signal, then, which is existing, and then turning on Petramont, left or right, mostly left, because you have to wait for traffic on 110, and you don't have a traffic signal to help you. We had a couple of the people that were down across the street from River Road making the same observations that I just told you about, how people cut through Petramont. Other than that, as you may remember, there was no opposition to the project. I talked to all our neighbors on our side, the three women that own the property behind us. I met them all. Glover, Lois, Bryant, and Walsh. I walked her property. She knows what we're doing. She likes what we're doing. Obviously, I met with Sue Colbert, who's on the corner, and her dad passed away recently, and she and her three sisters own that property. Tour out of state. She's living in the house, so I don't know what her situation is going to be at the current time, but it's going through probate. Sorges, we talked to obviously in Santos. So there was no problems with the project from any of those neighbors, and as you saw from the public hearing, nor were there any problems with anyone else. And I think the reason for that is that this is a transition season, I told you. It kind of fits in nicely between Quorum and 110, so it's not going to be something that's like right on Route 110. It's going to be kind of tucked away. It's very wooded, as you can see over there from the photo I have up. And we have plenty of parking, 112 spots. Some say maybe a little too much, but whatever. And I think that overall, as far as the way the building is located, it fits in very nicely with the parking on the outside, and there's still going to be green space for the cookouts and whatnot. There's going to be buffers with our neighbors with trees, and I think that, as you can see, there's going to be some landscaped areas, there's going to be some existing wooded areas, and it's going to blend in. I think I told you before, this is only the initial concept plan, so we're not saying to you, this is the final development plans, it's not. So, any of these technical issues with the width of the driveway, and so, well, those are kind of problems, that we can't overcome, or put on our map. As far as the colors are concerned with the siding, we want to use stone in the front with some siding mixed in. And we would bring that to you all at the meeting where we have detailed development. So you could, we could talk about that and say this looks nice. As far as planting, I think we had inadvertently put a few plantings that, we think we'd like to correct. I think Elaine brought up that we had some trees that weren't appropriate. I talked to our neighbor, she wanted some sweet fern hedges. I don't know why, but that's what she said.
I don't know if that's,
Yeah, so we could discuss that in detail, but she gave me some, she mentioned sassafras and tulips.
oh, well,
I'm just telling you what she
yeah,
said.
okay, no, she's interested in.
Yeah, she was trying to help me out.
Appreciate it.
And, so we could go over those things with the detailed development, those are not, selling points. But, I really think that this, I think if you remember the builders that came in, said that there's really no apartments, in this part of town, that there would be a demand for these apartments. These are all one bedrooms, there are a lot of studios, so they're only gonna have probably one or perhaps two people living in these units. I went to Boston, and, my son moved from, to a new, brand new apartment in Cambridge. And, when I was there, I noticed something, so we're gonna have to make a change on the plan. They have what they call a pet washroom, which I thought was really cool. Now, you're laughing at me, Jim, but I'm telling you.
No, I
You know what it is? Yeah, so when you walk your animals and they get all muddy, you can bring them into the little, facility, the room there, and wash their little paws, and they don't go tracking mud up through the whole
Yeah,
apartment.
it's very practical for city dwellers.
What's that?
It's very practical for city dwellers.
Oh,
To
yeah.
have
Yeah,
that.
for me, I need that.
Yeah, I used to put my dog in the laundry sink and he'd flop around and it was a disaster. He's a golden retriever, but,
Yeah.
But, so there's some things that we can do, and that's why I was talking about the details of all the things. Meeting rooms, with a fireplace and a big TV to watch football, so it's like a big living room. Those are the kind of things that we wanna do, that you might not see in older apartments. And then, of course, everyone in these units are gonna have their own washer and dryer, so you don't need to do that. But we wanna make this a nice facility, and, if there's, I know, Charlie had the idea, which I also like, was the electric, charging, stations for electric cars, they're out there now, and there may be more in the future. I thought that was a great idea, and if you have any other good ideas like that, I'm open to it. But, I really think this is gonna be a nice project. I think the neighbors are all happy. I'll leave it up to you, on what you want us to do with Petromont Lane, but, we can, that's up to the commission, but we can do it either way. And, Mandy's here if you have any, questions about, Mr. Ewer's, traffic study that I submitted, but he did a really good job of showing you the turns that people are making now, and what they're currently doing, and then even if you bump it up by 60%, what that's all about. So, those are more technical questions, but I think the gist of it is that no matter whether you go with the existing road and widen it, or you make it one-way, this project is not going to impact that intersection. That's the bottom line. And I think that's what your job is, to make sure that it's safe for the town. So, at the end of the day, I guess I could sum it up by saying that I'm here to request, as you know, a zone change to the PDD that I drafted, but I will have to come back to you with detailed development drawings, and we can go over the architecture, we can go over some of those meeting rooms and the tall cleaning rooms and those kinds of things. We can talk about whether we want to increase a little bit more of the green area by eliminating some of the parking, if that's what the commission feels might be more beneficial, and then of course you can uncover that if you need the parking later on. So we can deal with those issues in the detailed development plans. But overall, I think that this project works. I've consulted with staff, obviously beforehand with Mr. Panico a couple times. And I said we had good news, because I think it is good news if you go all the way to quorum and it works.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a concern Mr. Panico had, and he was right to want us to question that, to figure it out. So, at the end of the day, I think we have a good project that'll work, and I don't really have anything further to add unless you want to ask.
Okay, I'm just want to ask any of the commissioners here or remotely if they have any points that they would like to bring out at this time. Commissioner Amato?
Yeah, just that parking you brought up. I've seen places where they use kind of, some kind of tile that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grass tile?
right.
Yeah, I think it too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, you can cover that, you can cover some of the spaces, as, Elaine mentioned. And then if needed, you can park on it, if not,
Right.
you put your barbecue grill there.
That's parking.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Parkins?
I'd just like to hear from, Mr. Panico for the concerns that he raised, at the last meeting regarding Petromont Lane. So I'll hold my comments until he might chime in.
Okay, all right, thank you. Before I go to Mr. Panico, Commissioner Tiki, do you have any comments in particular?
Nothing in particular, just what's been said, and look forward to hearing from Mr. Panico.
All right, and Mr. Usel?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, and, Mr. Panico, is there anything in particular, you'd like to, discuss at this time?
Well, it was very interesting listening to Attorney Bellows offer the commission two alternatives. My concern would be, does the applicant know whether there is sufficient right-of-way available on Petromont Lane to accommodate a 26-foot pavement with two-way traffic if that were to be the decision of the commission? I know Petromont Lane is a very narrow lane, and I have not been able to determine in investigating the maps that were furnished whether there is sufficient right-of-way.
Very good point. I think Attorney Bellows wants to respond.
Yeah, in part, Tony, you have to widen, the road, by taking some of the, land that, Good Guys own. I don't know that you can use just the right-of-way that's existing there to get the full 26 feet. But what I'm suggesting is that it can work by obviously taking land, on our side that we own. And if the commission felt that they wanted to go the other way, we would talk to our neighbor about purchasing some land to Sorges on his side, or using our own side, to widen the road. So the topography is such, it's nice and flat. It's not, there's no issues with, grade, or having, it's just nice and flat, so it's easy. So to answer your question, it can be done, but you may have to take some land from very little slivers, Tony, from Good Guys or from across the street, whatever works best.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Panico?
Yes, still going on with that thought. Is the applicant willing to consider, if the commission were to initially approve a one-way pattern as proposed, pretty much, but with the reservation that you would like to see how that intersection with Coram and Constitution Boulevard actually works? And if that, after a period of time, let's say 2 years, 3 years, whatever, if we find that there really are problems that no one had anticipated and that the better solution is to have a two-way road, would the applicant then be willing to go back and do the additional work required to put in the 26-foot pavement and two-way traffic pattern?
I think that's a good suggestion. I would recommend you make that as a condition of approval, and we can, then we would have the legal obligation to come back and do it. I can give you my word that we would anyway, but the commission would be protected that way.
Well, it does pose some problems, however, Steve. If the commission were to take that route, in order to assure that that work would be done, if it were required, you would probably need to put up a bond or something to guarantee that the funding would be there.
Yeah, I get that, I understand that. Maybe a letter of credit or something like that.
In order to support that, can you have your engineer provide us with a more detailed plan of Petromont Lane, showing the full right-of-way, the existing pavement, the proposed pavement with the one-way pattern, and the potential layout with a 26-foot pavement and two-way traffic?
This is Manny Silva from Rose Diesel Company. Mr. Panico, as you can see on our OS1 plan, we have the one-way, basically designed, and we can also provide you with, which we had looked at already, to do a widened two-way, and we can provide that to you, to the staff, so that you can review that. And then in fact, if you'd like, we could even come up with a cost estimate for that work.
Oh, okay, because then we would have all the information we need to bring this thing to a decision.
Well, I think we would also, this is Commissioner Parkins, I think we would also need to know whether the landowners are amenable to selling that right-of-way.
We own the land, Ruth.
What's that?
Yeah, the part where it's a little tight, we own the land, so it would be our land that it would take.
Could you go back to a previous, or move the sketch and indicate what part you're referring to?
Yeah, anything that's, they've already Ruth, to answer your question, Santos already widened the road from River Road up to, let's call it our first driveway. You see that?
Yeah.
So that's been, so then comes our portion of the, road, and that's where it's narrow, right, Manny, can you see it right there, right in the middle? So we can always take our land, Ruth. We don't have to rely on any neighbors to sell it.
That's exactly why, Steve, from day one, I've been asking to have a plan that shows the full right-of-way. And I have not seen such a plan yet. So I think it would be desirable if you would compile one to the best of your ability.
No, I was just answering her question. It was a good question. She asked me, how would you get the land? We don't need the landowner's permission because we own it.
What about the part past that up to?
Then you go past our property and it widens up again, with the right of way there, but not the improvements. We would have to make those improvements.
Is there?
But there's a right of way that allows it.
Has there been any discussion about swinging the portion that, Petromont that hits Quorum more towards, Constitution Boulevard?
I missed the question.
Swinging the end of Petromont where it hits Quorum Avenue more towards the direction of Constitution Boulevard?
We were thinking of swinging it a little bit to the right, Jenny, to keep cars going, so making it more difficult to make the zigzag. But if you want it two-way, you can just make it straight, yeah. Yeah.
Have you, considered the impact of making Petromont one-way on your proposed tenants if they cannot take a left out of the driveways and hit River Road, and they need to go to somewhere, say they want to go to Santos Plaza, they have to take a right, go all the way, come down to the traffic light by Riverdale and go around just to go to Santos Plaza?
Yeah, Manny Silva. So what we looked at here in Quorum, what Mr. Hua, the traffic engineer, and what I noticed or observed out here was that the issue really with this and why this neighbor here kind of, has a grievance with this intersection is that people kind of just, as you can follow this arrow, they just go diagonally straight across the stop bar, right? So there could be cars coming here to try to stop, and they just come right across the stop bar and then cut right through your diagonal. So what we're doing is when we make this a one-way, we're actually going to cut this off and bring the curving a little bit out to pronounce the direction, the way the car should be, which is 90 degrees to Quorum Avenue. Right now, the intersection is kind of flared out here, so that it kind of invites people to kind of like fly down here diagonally down Petromont. And that's why we kind of coming in a diagonal this way, going across. It just kind of creates a conflict here at the stop sign in Corm Avenue.
Right, but go back,
Yep, I'll go back.
to my comment that I just made.
Yeah.
What about the people that are potential tenants and they want to go to River Road? They're going to go all the way around.
So with the one-way we have, yes, they are gonna have to come out to stop here, come here, and then down and around. So,
Which they won't.
it's just the way it's gonna have to be, because with the one-way, if you leave it two-way and you just widen it to 26 feet, yes, you get a little more space for cars to get by each other, but you're still not gonna solve your issue, your conflict points there with that five-way intersection, basically, at Farm Road and Constitution Boulevard, you know. What the purpose of making it a one-way going out there is to reduce the amount of conflict points where cars cross each other.
Then, have you considered and has there been any discussion with Mr. Santos, not Mr. Santos, but Sorge, about making Petromont one-way towards River Road?
Well,
So there's no entrance from Constitution and Quorum. I think you're putting your tenants in a real, giving them a hardship that they have to go all the way around. So block off and make it non-accessible, and then everybody's got to exit on River Road. Then they could take a right, then they could take a left, or is that too?
Maybe there were three options, and I think the commission liked that option. That was one of our options that we were proposing.
It isn't something that I thought of originally, but when I was sitting here looking at the map, I was saying, if I was a tenant.
It was the first thing that we did, but then we're making people make a left-hand turn at Petromont and River Road without the light. That's it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's three ways. Whatever way the commission wants, it does work. I know that. It's just we're here now, and we can maybe do something to improve a situation that use us and our money to do it. And the city, that's all I'm really kind of proposing.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter to me if you feel that one way is safer to make those people go around the block. Well, that's what they have to do. I don't think that's such a big imposition. It's not that far. If they want to go to Quorum and go downtown, they can go straight on Constitution Boulevard and go up to exit 13, or they can take Quorum Road, right? So you can get to downtown that easy.
Yeah. I personally have no particular problem with this particular building, the location, the position on the site. It's just this one little sticky point. I mean, I think it's a very nicely presented proposal, but it's just that street.
I think it's up to the commission. It could be done. It could be done any of the three ways. I am leaning towards the one way only because I think it's helping out the town. I'm afraid of what the people are currently doing. So is Sorge. But if you don't want to do that and you want to do something else, we can make it work. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, we will be discussing this particular. Jumping ahead, we will be discussing this and coming up with a consensus, so.
Yeah, then whatever the consensus is, I can then figure out what the commission members are thinking as far as how they want the road, and we'll make it work. I know it can work, that much I know.
All right, is there, one more time, any commissioner here or remotely, want to bring up any points before I ask for if there's any members of the public here?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Parkin?
All right, Commissioner Parker, hold on, because Commissioner Amato started, and I know there's a delay, so I'll recognize you after Commissioner Amato finishes.
Wouldn't we be getting some recommendations from the city traffic people?
Yeah,
That was-
it's Exhibit 28.
Yeah, that was on the city's website.
What they recommend?
They recommended a one-way.
Yeah, I could read it, it was an email from Sergeant Siglinger dated August 26th. And it said, this is in response to a revised traffic pattern that was submitted for Petromont Lane multifamily apartment development. The Shelton Police Department Traffic Division agrees with the suggestion that Petromont Lane be changed to a westbound one-way pattern from the south entrance of Santos Plaza to Quorum Road. All vehicles exiting the new development must turn right towards Quorum Road and South Constitution Boulevard. This is a much safer plan for vehicles that are trying to make a left-north turn onto Route 110. and all road and sign markings will be in compliance with the manual on uniform traffic control devices. So that's that particular thing.
They want it one way from 110 out to Coram.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Commissioner Parkins?
So to that point, I know that this conversation's kind of gone around in circles. So you can take a right from 110 to go up Petromont to Coram, but you can't come down from Coram, correct? But Mr. Santos is asking for bi-directional exit and entrance from his location? Is that what I'm understanding?
Santos has an entrance already on 110 for his, when you made his approval, so he has a 110 entrance already. He has an additional driveway that's on Petromont. And we're leaving it alone.
So if someone is going to exit on Petromont from Santos Plaza, they can only turn right, is that correct?
No, they would be able to go either way.
That's part of
Why?
the sticking point, splitting the
Why?
Petromont portion of it one way and making a portion in two-way, and I think that's gonna be really confusing.
It's very confusing.
That they already
And-
have, they
And to the
have it
chairwoman's
already.
point,
Commissioner Parkins finished.
to the chairwoman's point, inconveniencing the people that are in that apartment complex, I would think, I'm not, they're the newcomers. What about the people that would feel inconvenienced from the other areas? So I'm not so inclined to worry about the people that might be living in that complex being able to take a right. I think it's going to be very confusing to just have that end part of it two-way.
I understand the concern, according to Santos, don't forget, that's an additional driveway, so it doesn't get a lot of use. The main driveway's on 110 for their plaza.
Well, again, it's the path of least resistance and quickest way out.
But that is the current arrangement, however.
Yeah, the current arrangement is they have two egress and ingress. They have it on 110 and they have it on Petromont.
Yes, that's correct. And I recall when Santos's project was approved, the commission requested an improvement to Petromont along the Santos frontage on Petromont in order to allow that back driveway to be able to discharge traffic to Route 110.
Correct.
I think to take away one of the directional flows from the Santos property would be objected to by Mr. Santos, rightfully so.
Yeah, that's why we left.
So I think that's a given that we're going to have to live with, as inconvenient as it might seem, or somewhat confusing as it might seem. But we need to deal with it, whatever solution we arrive at.
Yes.
Yeah, Attorney Hammonds was here at the last meeting, Mr. Panico, and he spoke on behalf of his client, Ms. Santos Plaza, and about having only a portion being one way. He preferred the driveway in and out of Petromont to say as a two-way.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else before I open it up to the public?
Madam Chair, just a quick comment.
Sure. Mr. Rossetti?
Somewhere that's kind of related to this, although slightly different. The Big Y Shopping Plaza at the corner of Nels Rock Road has a one-way entrance into the shopping plaza, that I think you're familiar with. I've gone to get my haircut there. We've all shopped at Big Y. I've met most of the managers, and they have all complained about that one-way strip leading in, and that people will sit out there trying to avoid going left and left and left just to go up Mills Rock Road, or people will turn right coming down Bridgeport Avenue and then go down the one-way street on the left. So, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, or, it shouldn't have been put there or taken out. I'm just saying people will do whatever they can to get away from sitting at intersections. And so, as many of you, I think, have hinted at, the intersection with, the Sorges having that two-way entrance and exit off of Petromont Lane and then converting it to one-way. I mean, 1,000% people are gonna leave this future apartment building, make a left, and just scoot down to the intersection without going right. I mean,
That is
they're
correct.
gonna-
You are absolutely right.
There's no, I mean, I'm just even thinking of myself, there's no way in hell I'm gonna spend 15 minutes going around the block when I can make a left and scoot down 50 feet and then up right onto the Sorges thing. That's realistically what's gonna have Santos, sorry. So I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know if one way is the best thing of the whole street, or if two way is the best thing, or maybe there's some type of parameter that can prevent that type of situation from happening. I just want to bring that to the attention of the commissioners and the applicant. It sounds like everyone is on board with this issue, but just giving that as an example.
Yeah, as Commissioner Parkin said, it's like the path of least resistance, so.
So one of the things out there now is it's two-way, and I think that's what you were leaning towards, leaving it two-way with improvements.
Yeah.
It can be done that way, I said that.
It is two-way now, I live right there, I don't see it as done.
Yeah, the major improvement would have to be, correct me if I'm wrong, with Petromont and Quorum,
Down to
with,
Santos' improvement.
no, where Petromont and Quorum meet Constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have come down on Constitution and we stop at the stop sign, we take a left, we take a right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you gotta be careful of is, isn't there a traffic pole there? Right on the corner of, the side where
Yes.
Sorge's welding is?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the area that I had said, could that be curved? But you got that telephone pole there, how can you widen
Well,
it at that
yeah,
point?
if the commission feels that, you want to keep it two ways, as I said, we could widen the road to accommodate two-way traffic.
Mm-hmm.
At the pinch point, and I think this is what Ruth was asking me, the pinch point is fortunately where it's pinched is near our property, so that can be widened without asking anyone's permission.
Yeah.
And then, we can play with the, intersection at Quorum and Petromont, if it is two-way, using the right-of-way that exists there now. It's turned, to try to prevent that zigzag maneuver, but you'll see there's more room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If
Okay.
it were to be two-way, you can just widen it out. So,
Madam
whatever
Chair.
the commission,
Okay, Commissioner Parkins wanted to make a statement?
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that this needs to remain a two-way. It's either going to be a legal or an illegal two-way street. And to Mr. Rossetti's point, he's absolutely right about Big Y Plaza. I see it happen all the time. They just disregard any kind of signage or et cetera. But to Mr. Panico's point, we have not seen any sort of drawing to indicate how those improvements are going to be made. So I would be very uncomfortable approving this project with the, well, let's see if the one-way works, and if not, we'll redesign the road. I really would like to see how that road would be redesigned and whether it can be sufficiently redesigned to be two-way.
I have Manny Silva here.
All right, can we just, instead of continuing to discuss this, the commission wants plans to be submitted that will show all of that and what you propose, keep it, if it was kept as two-way, this is how it would look. And this is how the section with Petromont, Quorum, and Constitution Boulevard would look
Yes.
after improvements. We understand that because of the pinch point that you referred to is in front of your property and you own it, that solves that. But
That helps us, yeah.
yes, it does. So, so unless there's anything new, different,
No,
whatever.
that's the way this commission
Okay.
feels, we can do that,
Yeah,
definitely.
okay, because I want to move on and just check, is there anyone in the audience, anybody from the public that wants to, address the commission on this particular proposal?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we put some more lights on then? Mr. Don Kuby. Sir, just, identify yourself for the record, please.
Good morning, my name is Don Kubie, Kubie. I'm a resident on 500 River Road, number 11, which is opposite the Petromont Lane exit on River Road.
Are those the condos that go down to, down by the river? Is that the condo units that are down by the river? Okay.
I spoke last time and I mentioned that there were two treacherous intersections. Both are effectively five-way intersections. If you look at River Road, there's a Talalay exit there also. So, and Quorum Road, I agree 100% with the attorney. Quorum Road is really dangerous. Cars come sailing down there, and they want to go zipping through Petromont Lane as a shortcut. My point I wanted to make relative to the discussion today is that I would personally support the uphill one-way, but I would also want to add that the portion that's really too narrow, both portions have to be widened a little bit. What it is now is, I said last week, two cars cannot pass each other, and there's a telephone pole that sticks out. And until the storm came a couple weeks ago and knocked some trees out, the trees were over the road, but I'm sure that would be taken care of. So my point is, I think if we do the northbound or uphill portion, that it has to be widened a little bit too, because what there is now, I wouldn't call it a public road at this point. Thank you.
Mr. Kuby, just to clarify, that uphill that you refer to is the direction towards Quorum and Constitution Boulevard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Uphill towards Quorum.
Yeah, I just want to get that on the record to clarify. Anybody else in the public that wishes to address the commission on this particular application? Okay, any more comments from the commission? Staff? Okay. Mr. O'Neill?
Yeah, I'm just popped into my head. So if you could make it one way, sorry to continue the conversation.
That's okay.
One way past both entrances to the apartments. And you could still have people coming in and out of the apartments that circulate around and still avoid the issue of people coming down Constitution and cutting through, on Petromont.
Mr. Rossetti, did you want to say something about that?
Sure, if the two-way road is continued up past both entrances of, the site, then you've only got, whatever that is, a couple hundred feet to go. Then people coming down Quorum are going against traffic just to get into the site. You can't, it just seems like splitting. Correct, so coming from Quorum, they're gonna be going against traffic, and they're just gonna do that and dip into the development rather than circle around the whole block and sit through a traffic light and try and make a left-hand turn going across the road.
Yeah. Actually, there's a similar situation if you were at the intersection of Main Street and Quorum Avenue, where the video store is, and you headed up the hill, you pass Myrtle Street, Quorum Avenue curves up to the right, and Hillside meets Quorum Avenue at that point. You're not supposed to take a left and go down Hillside at that point, and people do all the time, because one lot past that is Hillside two-way. But, so it's just, we have these awkward situations in town. All right, so, unless there's any other further discussion, any questions for the applicant from the commission, if commission members feel that no additional information is required other than what we, have asked, that the applicant submit detailed intersection plans to staff?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close it.
Okay, there's a motion to close the public hearing from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second from Commissioner Amato. The motion to close the public hearing, made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Amato. Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Amato?
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Utah?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So we'll be having a discussion about this particular application at an upcoming Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I look forward to seeing some details from the staff on that intersection.
Thank you all very much for putting up with me, and, unfortunately, I have to get back.
We know. All right, final item on the
Chairwoman.
agenda today is... Yes, go ahead,
This is
Commissioner Dickey.
Commissioner Dickey. I do need to hop off the call at this point, but thank you.
All right, thank you for letting us know, Commissioner Dickey. So you have left the meeting at 11:55. All right, final item on the agenda today. Initiation of application 20-15, Vista Apartments LLC, for Shelton zoning regulation text change of section 33.6, special exceptions, multifamily residential developments. The proposal's intent is to clarify the building standards for multifamily developments in R2, R3, is that a typo on the agenda? R4, R5, and CA3 zones. So, Mr. Rossetti, do you want to share something with us before we turn over to the applicant?
Sure. Actually, we have on the computer so that everyone can see. Correct. So, Madam Chair, the applicant is requesting to change, the text of section 33.6. Section 33 is, the section of the Shelton regulations regarding, special exception applications. The text currently reads 33.6, multifamily residential development. Applications for multifamily residential developments consisting of one or more dwelling units, plus customary accessory recreational maintenance, etc. The request is to add, in the beginning of that sentence, what's highlighted in red, in any residence R2 and R3 district. The reasoning for this is, I'm sure most of you read the letter, to clarify where do multifamily housing units, what do they abide by Schedule B, or do they abide by this special exception guideline of Section 33? Now, I've kind of put together a little packet showing the commissioners what this is in reference to. So, Schedule A is what allows any type of development in the city. So, for example, R2, R3, R4, R5, and C3 zones. By special exception, you are allowed to have multi-dwelling units, and this is an R4, R5, and CA3 zone. You're also allowed to have them in R2, 3, 4, 5, and then CA3 zones. However, you'll notice this R here. This means that these are referenced in other parts of Schedule A, which are above. So line 3 of Schedule A is saying these multifamily houses are allowed, but by special exception application. What the applicant is requesting is that these, which as stated, are subject to the requirements of Schedule B. However, it's just not totally as clear in the text. So, this is Schedule B for CA3, so The apartments proposed in R4, R5, and CA3 zones would have to apply to the Schedule B standards, both here and here for the R4 and R5 zones. And then the R2 and R3 zones, this is a copy of Section 33, 33.6 in particular, as you can see, does not have that text in red, as was indicated in this proposal. So the intent here, and this is not just for the benefit of the applicant, but for staff as well, is to clarify where applicants for multifamily development are supposed to abide by for future developments. The differences between Schedule B and Section 33, when we're looking at these types of multifamily developments, is that Section 33, in general, allows for less dense development, requires a little more space, which is in line with R2 and R3 zones. Schedule B allows for slightly denser development, which aligns more with R4, R5, and CA3 zones. So staff does not have any objections to this application. We work with the applicant to hopefully try and clarify this as best we can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rossetti. Does any commission members have any questions, or Mr. Attorney Bellis, do you want to?
I'll just say my name for the record is Attorney Stephen Bellis, and as Alex pointed out, it's just a clarification so that there's no confusion when an applicant comes in, whether it's going on Schedule B or under 6.6. So it's really just to clarify that. It's a text amendment, which simply means that it will be put in our regulations. So you're going to be adding really like, 5 words in any residence R2 and R3 district. That's what's going to be added.
Right, I don't think it's the number of words, that it's the intent. So we have to just be careful. I just want to ask Mr. Panico, do you have any comments, questions, or concerns about this proposed?
No, Alex and I have discussed this on several occasions over the past 6 months, and Alex made a very good explanation of the reason for the changes and the inapplicability, if you will, of some of those requirements as presently set forth. The bottom line is really that this is a simple amendment, and primarily what it's going to do is eliminate the minimum 4 acres lot size that's now required across the board, and let that be applicable only to the R2 and R3 zones where it was originally intended. As you can well imagine, trying to apply a 4-acre minimum lot size to a potential CA3 multifamily zone is going to virtually preclude any, because I don't think there are very many 4-acre sites left in the city in the CA3 zone. So what we would be doing with this amendment is eliminating that rather nonsensical requirement. All of the other criteria that are now set forth in that regulation are covered anyway under other provisions of a special exception. So we're covered in all of the other standards. Basically, all we're doing is removing that 4-acre requirement.
So is there a way that someone could apply and go through like the back door to get an application to be considered? Because there is one little section now that they have 6, 7, 8 acres and they want to put multifamily in. Well, I just want to make sure that that's not going to be the.
I'm sorry. What? That if they have only how much?
If they have 6, 7, 8 acres, is there a way that they could circumvent the intent of this text change in any way?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Mr. Rossetti and Mr. Panico both believe that that would not be able to happen. So any commissioners have any questions, comments, or concerns on this text change? Anybody remotely? Commissioner Parkins or Commissioner Youssef?
No, Madam Chair.
No, not this side, Madam Chair.
Thank you. How about Commissioners Model or Kelly? No. Good? All right. So is there a consensus to act on this at this particular meeting? I'll, start with Commissioner Kelly.
Madam Chairman, I don't think it
Go
would
right
be
ahead.
appropriate, I don't think it would be appropriate for the commission to take an action now. This is an advertisement for a public hearing. It needs to be put on a regular commission agenda and acted at that time.
Right, there should be a consensus to, continue closing the public hearing and, discussion at a further, upcoming meeting. I'm sorry, I was a little confusing on what my intent was. Okay, so does, Commissioner Kelly, do you feel that there's any more information that's needed?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Amato? Okay, Commissioner Parkins?
No, but just for clarification, so, this is going to go to a public hearing, is that correct?
This is the public hearing.
This is the public hearing?
Yes.
Have
Yeah,
we
we're gonna-
received, looking through the documentation, I see that we've reached out to, the various, Naugatuck Valley COG, et cetera. Have we, have we heard responses back?
None of them have responded, and in their emails and phone calls that I've had with them, if they do not respond within the time period, you may take that as a sign of approval,
What was that time period?
30 days.
So the letters went out August 21st?
Correct.
This one and this, yeah, they both went out August 21st. So we're still within the 30 days.
Correct, so, however, you're not acting on this application now, you may close the hearing if, they say no, then, we can revisit that at a different time, but I don't see any reason why we can't close the hearing for this application.
So staff would bring it to the commission's attention
Absolutely.
as to, at a further meeting as to whether or not any, dissension was received by any of the
Correct,
neighboring
and I
COGs.
do not foresee any issues from any of the COGs.
Okay? Does that help, Commissioner Parkins?
Yes, thank you.
And Commissioner Youssef?
So just to clarify, we are trying to close the public hearing.
That's correct. And if there's any further information comes in, staff will be able to meeting.
Okay.
So, seeing that no one's indicated that they need further information, and we have the assurances of staff that if any information comes in from any of the neighboring COGs, that they will present that information at upcoming meeting. So is there a motion to close the public hearing? There's a motion from Commissioner Amato. Is there a second? There's a second from Commissioner Kelly, and we'll do a roll call on the motion. Just one more time, any discussion on this particular motion? Okay,
So just for the record, there's no one on the sign machine.
thank you, I appreciate that. So no members of the public, had indicated they would want to address this particular application. So on motion to close, made by Commissioner Amato, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Amato? Aye. Commissioner Youssef?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion is passed 5-0 to close the public hearing. So we'll be discussing this at a future meeting of the commission. Seeing that there's no other agenda items, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Amato. Roll call, Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Youssef?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Amato? Aye. And chair votes aye, motion passed 5-0, and the meeting is adjourned as of 12:10 p.m. Thank you.